Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns, and I'm excited. Again, I'm excited. And I say again because, yesterday, I don't know how I introduced things yesterday. I don't remember. But, I honestly was not feeling very well yesterday. I was feeling really tired. I was feeling very low energy. And it's kind of, I don't know if excitement would be a fair description. Right now, enthusiasm, yes, for sure. I was still enthusiastic, and enthusiasm kind of, usually does lead to some level of excitement. Even if I start the talk out as very tired and sort of low energy, the enthusiasm kind of creates a little bit of excited energy. And so by the end of the podcast, I'm feeling pretty buzzed and just as, animated and excited as ever, but I will say though that yesterday was a bit of a it was like a slow start, as they might say, right? And so this is really interesting, and I just wanted to share this with you because it's really fascinating how this is sort of unfolding, and again, what the sort of theme of today's topic is going to be curiosity. And I'm going to tell you how that ties into what I'm saying now. Okay. Because, yesterday morning, this is the first time, as I mentioned yesterday, the first time in about, something like 2 or 3 months that I've taken a day off, right? Where a full day, like I didn't have anything to do all day, right? Not a podcast, not a phone call, not a written note, not even reading something, literally just completely unplugged from work all day. First time I've done that in at least 2 or 3 months, maybe more. And so, so my body quickly got used to that feeling, right? I mean, I felt like I stayed up a little bit later on the night before last, right? So that would have been, yesterday was Wednesday. So Tuesday night, Monday night. So Tuesday I didn't have to do anything, right? So Monday night I stayed up a little late and just kind of, gave myself that license to like not worry about going to bed because I don't have to worry about getting up, right? And then I slept in on Tuesday morning and it felt great, right? I haven't done that in so long. My wife didn't have to work early, so she was able to manage the kids for me in the morning, and so I was able to really rest, and it felt really, really good, right? And then of course Tuesday night, wasn't that early either, right? Because I'm on this sort of vacation time, and I'm feeling like even though it was just one day, my body was responding that quickly, which was very interesting to me, right? It was very interesting to see how my body was experiencing this and reacting to this one day off, right? And then so again on Tuesday night, I didn't get to sleep very early. Again, I mean, it wasn't quite as late as it was Monday night, but it wasn't early either. So yesterday, Wednesday, when I woke up, I was drowsy. I was not feeling like jumping out of bed and doing my 50 push-ups and getting into my morning routine the way I do every other day, right? I was feeling like, gosh, I want another one of those days off. Can I do that again? Like today? Like I don't have to wait till next week. Can I, but no, I can't, right? I have obligations, Yesterday I had lots of appointments scheduled. Yesterday I have my podcast to do. Yesterday I was back to work. Things are back to normal, right? And so what's really fascinating about this, right, is that, honestly, when I woke up yesterday, I felt like I could have called in sick. Right? Like if I was just working a job, I might have called in and said, I can't make it in today. I'm just not feeling well. I just need a day, and I would have allowed myself to just kind of, relax for another day. Right? Because, and part of it is that my body really needed it, right? Like my body, that's one of the reasons why it responded so quickly and so deeply to this is because it really needed the rest, right? It was feeling very tired. It was feeling pretty burned out. And so it really needed that time to just, decompress and just settle down and be, just be at rest. Right. So there was a need there. And so that need was like, okay, so can I keep fulfilling this need, but no, not Wednesday. Next week. Yeah. Next week, I'm going to actually take 2 days off. I'm going to take Monday all day and Tuesday all day. And so I'll handle that. Right. But again, when I woke up in the morning though, it had this sense of like, like it was almost like, I wanted to like, the notion, the automatic thing that came to my mind was to judge how I was feeling, right? And to judge the sort of physical state that I was in, right? And that judgment was going to be that being this tired is bad. And now I'm going to have to struggle through the rest of my day because I'm feeling tired. And this is all very bad, right? That's the normal sort of way that we approach things in our lives, right? Like we practice judgment for our whole lives, right? But in a certain sense, judgment is necessary, right? Like there's a certain part of being human that relies on judgment. Or maybe we could use a different word. Maybe we could use discernment instead of judgment, right? Because we're not necessarily judging things constantly as good or bad, but we're discerning things as either being helpful or harmful, or, safe or dangerous, healthy or unhealthy, right? And we're making decisions based on that discernment all the time, right? So the process of discerning something or judging something in and of itself is not the problem, right? The problem becomes when we act upon that judgment, right? And that's where we get into some tricky stuff, right? Because if I'm going to act upon the judgment that I was feeling yesterday, and this really ties into an old habit of mine, and something that I'm hoping to talk to you about today that maybe will change something for you, because when I'm waking up in the morning and I'm feeling that exhaustion, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through today? Like, this is just, oh boy, I don't know how I'm going to do it today. I just feel like it's all stacked against me, right? In that moment, right, if we judge ourselves that way, right, if we judge that, okay, I'm just not in a good place today, this is going to be a bad day, right? Well, now what happens is now we feel like we just got to get through it, right? We just got to survive the day. Right? I just got to get through. There's been mornings I can remember back in the day when I was working corporate jobs and stuff. I can remember waking up in the morning and, like, before I was even out of bed, thinking like, I can't wait to be back in bed tonight. Because I'm that exhausted and that just burnt out and just drawn and just not having it. Right. And so what that creates is this sort of sense that we just got to get through the experiences that we have, right? And now for me, that lasted for years, right? Like decades even, that it was just sort of the MO, the modus operandi to just have this sense that I needed to just survive, just get through the day. And if we're trying to get through the day, well, then what we're also doing is we're getting through every conversation, we're getting through every connection, we're getting through every experience that we have, right? It becomes no longer about having the experience and experiencing the emotions and experiencing the thoughts and the sensations of the body in those experiences, right? It goes from that to simply getting through it, right? Just get through to the end of the day, right? Just get me to the point where I can get back in bed, right? And again, like for me, that was decades. And so I think back upon it, it's very, it becomes challenging at times not to feel regret about this, but of course my mindfulness practice keeps me safe from that. But it's really easy to feel a sense of regret of like all that time wasted, right? Like literally more than 10 years of my life, probably 20 years of my life, I spent every single day just trying to get through the day. Which again doesn't mean just getting through the day. It means getting through every experience within that day, right? And so what did I miss, right? It's like coming in the middle of a movie. You have to go out to the bathroom and be like, okay, what happened, right? How many people hate that when somebody does that, right? And so, but of course, with our life, there's nobody to ask, right? And it's like, wow, you just kind of, you look back on it, and again, it's really easy to fall into a sense of regret. But the beautiful thing is, it doesn't really matter, right? It's just from this moment on is all you got, right? So yeah, it might be sad, it might feel regretful, it might feel a lot of different things, but that is what it is. There's nothing you can do about any of that, right? And so accepting that, right, allows us then to free ourselves up to just say from this moment forward, right, I'm going to no longer just get through the day. And so how do we do that, right? What's the mechanism by which we can, transfer ourselves, to transform ourselves from a person who just simply gets through and survives the day, right, to somebody who is actually present in each moment of the day and really soaks in and experiences in a depth and a authenticity, experiences life. Right? How do you go from one to the other? Because here's the thing is it's more important than it might even seem, right? Like, yes, it's important to live our experiences, right? It's important to be there with our experiences, right? Especially when we talk about loved ones and friends and pets and house plants and stuff. It's important to be present with all those things, right? Because for the health and the well-being of yourself and it's all important, right? But it's even on a health kind of stance, right? Because when we're first thing in the morning, if we're even subconsciously thinking like, well, I just got to get through all of this, right? I just have to survive this, right? I'm using that word survive purposely and over because what is the survival mode of our body? It's the stress response. Right. And so while you're trying to just get through all the different experiences and all the different days of your life, right, that idea of just surviving till the end of them, that's setting you up for the stress response. And so therefore, because when you're in that is the very notion of wanting to survive something, right? The minute that notion comes into your mind that you have to survive something, well, the emotion of fear is not very far away, right? In fact, it's probably already surrounding you and gripping you and creating a lot of, stress in your body, right? Because what happens if you don't survive it? Right? How do you survive? You survive through the stress response. You survive through panic and hyper arousal. That's the only way your body knows how to survive something. And so by having this notion in your mind, this judgment that this day is something that needs to be survived, well, there's almost no chance that you're not going to feel the stress in your body, that you're not going to experience stress in your body at some point during that day, right? If not all day during that day, right? And so how do we do it? Again, what's the trick? Give me the hack, Art. I know you got all these hacks. Give me the hack, right? Is that what you're thinking? I hope it's what you're thinking because I got a hack for you and I'm excited to share it with you. It's curiosity. It's that simple. It's just about being curious. And that's something that is, universally true, right? In whatever we're doing. Right? If we can be curious, it's going to be, it's going to come out more favorably for us. It's almost universal again, right? Because in a very real way, right? In a very real way, curiosity takes the space of judgment. Right? Let me repeat that. Curiosity takes the place of judgment. What does that mean? Okay, let me explain that, okay? I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling tired and I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I have so many meetings today. I have to do my podcast. I have to feed my kids. I have to take them out to the park. I got to do all this stuff today. I am just so tired. I do not know how I'm going to do this because I'm just so tired. This is going to be a bad day. Right? That's the way the normal sort of thought process happens, right? And again, as soon as I say this is going to be a bad day, now automatically I feel like I need to survive this day, right? That's the only way I'm going to get through it is if I actively survive something, right? As though I'm being attacked, right? And so the minute I'm in that place of having to survive, again, that's where fear and the stress response comes in. Right. So that's the normal way. Right. That's the way most of us do it. That's the way, again, I did it for decades of my life. Right. And there's probably, usually I get about 300 or so people are opening the emails that I send every day. And another 20 or 30 are listening to the podcast every day. I'm telling you, out of the 350 of you, I mean, at least 35 or 70 of you are experiencing this too. right? You don't try to fool me, right? Don't BS a BSer, as my mother used to say to me. Although she didn't use the initials, she said it right out loud. How does curiosity supplant judgment, right? Again, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. This is going to be a bad day, right? I've judged my state, and I've judged the potential of what's going to happen today, right? I've narrowed the potential down to something very, very slim, and here it is, right? This is going to be a bad day. Right? There's no room for anything outside of that, right? It's very narrowed down, right? For all of you on the podcast, I'm like showing you it narrowed down with my hands here. So that's judgment, right? Judgment is always going to, and even if we judge something as good, right? If we look outside and we say, oh my gosh, the sun's shining, it's going to be a good day, right? That also is narrowing our scope, right? Because we're not taking into account all the different variables that could come up other than the sunshine that could create a different sort of tone of the day, right? Or but again, it's not even the day, right? It's moment by moment, but let's get past that for a second. We'll come back to that in a minute, right? But it is important to this conversation, right? And that's actually the key to the conversation. I shouldn't even gloss over that, right? Because I'm sitting here saying, oh, it's going to be a bad day or it's going to be a good day, right? But again, judgment is what, kind of allows me to narrow my view and call it a whole day, right? Curiosity, on the other hand, right, opens everything up. Curiosity creates eternal, infinite potentials. Right? It's all potential when it becomes curiosity, right? Because when we're curious, right, instead of saying, oh, this is going to be a hard day, it's going to be so hard and so bad, and I don't want to do it, I want to call in sick, I don't want to go in today, I don't want to deal with it, right? That's all judgment. But if we instead wake up and we're still feeling tired, right? Nothing's changed, right? Like it's still like yesterday, waking up and feeling like exhausted. Like I was so tired when the alarm went off. I was like, oh no, I'm not ready, But in that moment, right, I can choose one or the other, right? I can choose to judge and say, no, this is going to be bad. I'm not ready for today. It's going to be a horrible, difficult failure, blah, 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 right? Or I could simply say, isn't it interesting how exhausted my body is right now, right? This is fascinating, right? Because I didn't get enough sleep because of the 2 days off or day off, whatever. And the whole thing, I can see where it happened. I can see where it came from, right? But instead of judging it, instead of saying, oh no, this is bad, I didn't get enough sleep, how am I going to survive the day? Instead of saying that, I can say, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder how, moving through my full day of schedule and everything in this exhaustion, I wonder how that's going to, what my meetings are going to be like. What am I going to feel like in my meetings? What are the benefits? What's going to arise from the conversations that I have from this place, right? What's it going to feel like to have extra caffeine today? Right? Not saying, oh gosh, I got to abuse my body with extra caffeine today, right? That's a judgment. But hey, I wonder what happens if I drink one extra cup of black tea today because I'm so tired. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder how that's going to impact the meeting that I have at 3:00 this afternoon, right? And so when we can replace that judgment with the openness and the invitation and the fascination that comes with curiosity, well, then in a very real way, we become like bulletproof in our lives, right? Because if everything is an opportunity for curiosity, well, then there's nothing that could possibly be harmful to us, right? There's nothing to survive at that point. Right? Because we're curious to see what's going to happen. I hope you can see how that changes things, right? Because, again, that opens us up to the reality that it's not just a day in front of me that I'm looking at, right? It's not like, oh, this is going to be a bad day or this is going to be a good day or this is going to be a hard day or an easy day, right? That's not how it works. It's not the whole day in front of me. It's this moment that I'm in right now. And so if I'm curious, right? And again, judgment makes me see the whole day in front of me, right? The whole thing is one big unit, right? And it's gonna, just be one big cluster thing and just really be hurtful and all that kind of stuff, right? As a whole entity, a whole day, right? But if I'm curious, instead of judging of it, right? If I'm curious and I say, I wonder what I'm going to feel like, throughout the day. I wonder how my mood, I wonder how my body energy, I wonder how my physical sensations, I wonder how my thoughts are going to be impacted in each moment. And I'm really curious to see how things kind of modulate throughout the day. And to experience this as a moment to moment arising experience. Because that's what life is. Life is nothing else but a moment-to-moment arising experience. And if we're curious about that, then we can be present with the moment-to-moment arising experience, right? We can be open to it. We can be, open to the potential, right? And again, instead of saying, I'm so tired, this is going to be a horrible day, we can say, I'm so tired, I wonder what it's going to do to I wonder what each moment is going to feel like as the day progresses. It changes everything. It changes everything. But most of all, what it does is as we talked about yesterday, right? You're no longer operating from this place of fear, right? You're operating from a place of wonder and curiosity and excitement, right? Curiosity is the antithesis of fear, right? If you're curious, curiosity killed the cat, right? If you're curious, you do things that, sometimes they're not very well advised. Sometimes you're going to get hurt from your curiosity, right? Because the curiosity suspends the fear, right? Now, that's not to say like, I wonder what's going to happen if I drive my car off this cliff. Obviously we're talking within certain realistic parameters here, Please. I hope you understand that. And if you don't, call me, okay? Because we need to talk about that. Because I don't want you driving a car off a cliff and saying, I thought it would be fun. I thought it'd be interesting, There's a certain reality that goes on, right? Like I know that if I just skip a bunch of meetings today, like that's curiosity too. Like I wonder what'll happen if I just don't show up to all my client meetings today. Well, I know what's going to happen to a certain extent, or at least I know one thing is going to happen. It's, the end of the month, the bills are not going to be happy about it, right? Oh man. So it's about, it's about being curious. Okay. And again, it's kind of using that curiosity to take the space of the judgment. That's the best way that I can express that because judgment, what it does is it kind of fills a void, right? When something happens, right, we judge it in order to fill that void in our mind, right? To say like, okay, I need to identify this. I need to understand this thing, right? But that need is deceptive. That need is part of your delusion, actually, because you don't need to understand every single thing that happens. It's not necessary, right? But we feel like if there's something we don't understand, that's bad, right? And when that's bad, then we're afraid of not knowing things. And when we're afraid of not knowing things, then we're going to, that's what brings up what we call the storytelling mind, right? Because when we don't know something and we're afraid of not knowing that something, then we're going to figure it out, even if we have to make up a story to make it make sense, right? And so you can see where this very, very small seed can blossom into a very big tree of difficulty in our lives, right? Because if we're getting into that kind of notion of making up that gets into the cognitive dissonance that we've talked about here a lot, right? Like when we experience something that we can't explain and we're not okay with not explaining it, well, then we have to invent an explanation for it, right? And that's where we get into all kinds of difficulty and all kinds of sort of perilous activity of the mind which is going to cause a lot of negative emotions, which are going to lead to further negative consequences in our lives, which are going to lead to further negative emotions. And that's when people call me and say, I need help in my life. I got to figure all this out. Like, help me figure this out. Right? That's what I get from people. When people contact me, they're at that rope's end, right? They've been living for decades in this way. They're exhausted from it. They're stressed from it. Their lives are crumbling around them from it. And they're desperate for the help, right? But we can address this before it gets to that point. And I was at that point too. I mean, that's what got me into mindfulness, right? And so it's no shame that if you're in that place, but if you are in that place, come and talk to me. Let's figure this out together, because we can. We absolutely can. It's not hard to develop, to cultivate the sort of habit of curiosity. All right? And it comes from non-judging. And that's the whole name of the game. And I have some very basic practices, simple, not woo-woo, not mystical, not anything weird, just very simple, basic practices. You do them for a few minutes every day, and guess what? You develop and cultivate a quality or a condition of non-judging awareness, which leads to curiosity, which, I just told one of my amazing client that I was on the phone with this morning, told him that my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter the other day asked me, what do you do when you're bored? I looked at her and I said, I haven't been bored in over 10 years. Like, boredom doesn't happen to me anymore. And literally, I was just telling my client, partner, friend, that if you told me that I'd have to stand online at the DMV for 2 hours, I wouldn't be bored. But you can't have a phone, no problem. You can't have a book, no problem. The person next to you is going to be, rude, and you're not going to be able to talk to them, no problem. Absolutely no problem. I don't have a fear in the least of that, because I'm curious. Because I'm curious to see what's it going to feel like after 1 hour and 39 minutes. I wonder what that moment is going to feel like. And if I'm curious about it, then I'm present with it. And if I'm present with it and I'm open to it, then I learn from it. And so if I'm learning, there's no boredom, right? Well, I hope that you found this helpful. I hope you found it interesting. And as always, I'm going to leave a link in the description below, in case you are feeling that level of like, oh my gosh, I got to figure something out here. My life I can't live this way anymore. If you're at that point, or even if you're not at that point, but you can feel that maybe that's the trajectory you're on, click the link. Okay, let's jump on a call together. It doesn't mean anything, right? It's not an obligation. It doesn't mean you're going to pay anything. It doesn't mean we might just wind up having an amazing 45-minute conversation, and then you go about your business, right? Or maybe it turns out to be something where I can help you on a weekly basis. And either way, I'm happy to get on this 45-minute call for you, and it costs nothing. So if even you think maybe it might apply to you, just book the call. And if you don't enjoy it, we don't have to stay on for 45 minutes either, right? If 15 minutes in, you're like, okay, this isn't for me, hang up the phone. Tell me you got to go. It's no problem. I promise you, it's no problem. But you won't. You definitely won't. You'll stay on for 45 minutes because I'm going to deliver a lot of value for that 45 minutes. All right, everybody. Wishing you well. I'll be back in tomorrow. Hope you all have a wonderful, I hope you're curious and meeting each moment with a curiosity and an acceptance, because that's something else curiosity helps, is to accept things, right? All right. We'll talk more about this later. Talk to you later. Have a great day. Wish you well.